In the depths of my heart, I can't help being convinced that, my dear fellow men, with a few exceptions, are worthless. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. He that has eyes to see and ears to hear, may convince himself that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips, betrayal oozes out of him at every pore. It is impossible to escape the impression that people commonly use false standards of measurement, that they seek power, success and wealth for themselves, and admire them in others, and that they underestimate what is of true value in life. In so doing, the idea forces itself upon him that religion is comparable to a childhood neurosis, and he is optimistic enough to suppose that mankind will surmount this neurotic phase, just as so many children grow out of their similar neurosis. Illusions commend themselves to us, because they save us pain and allow us to enjoy pleasure instead. We must therefore accept it without complaint, when they sometimes collide with a bit of reality against which they are dashed to pieces. No, our science is no illusion. But an illusion would be to suppose that what science cannot give us, we can get elsewhere. Religion is a system of wishful illusions together with the disavowal of reality, such as we find nowhere else, but in a state of blissful hallucinatory confusion. Religion's 11th commandment is "Thou shalt not question." It is that we are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love, never so helplessly unhappy as when we have lost our loved object or its love. It goes without saying that a civilization which leaves so large a number of its participants unsatisfied, and drives them into revolt, neither has nor deserves the prospect of a lasting existence. The behavior of a human being in sexual matters is often a prototype for the whole of his other modes of reaction in life. Neurotics complain of their illness, but they make the most of it, and when it comes to taking it away from them, they will defend it like a lioness her young. Properly speaking, the unconscious is the real psychic. Its inner nature is just as unknown to us as the reality of the external world, and it is just as imperfectly reported to us through the data of consciousness, as is the external world through the indications of our sensory organs. A man should not strive to eliminate his complexes, but to get into accord with them. They are legitimately what directs his conduct in the world. Poets are masters of us ordinary men in knowledge of the mind, because they drink its streams which we have not yet made accessible to science. What is common in all these dreams is obvious. They completely satisfy wishes excited during the day, which remain unrealized. They are simply and undisguised realizations of wishes. It would be very nice if there were a God who created the world and was a benevolent providence, and if there were a moral order in the universe and an afterlife, but it is a very striking fact that all this is exactly as we are bound to wish it to be. When a love relationship is at its height, there is no room left for any interest in the environment. A pair of lovers are sufficient to themselves. As regards intellectual work, it remains a fact, indeed, that great decisions in the realm of thought and momentous discoveries and solutions of problems are only possible to an individual working in solitude. A love that does not discriminate seems to me to forfeit a part of its own value by doing an injustice to its object, and secondly, not all men are worthy of love. The ego refuses to be distressed by the provocations of reality, to let itself be compelled to suffer. It insists that it cannot be affected by the traumas of the external world. It shows, in fact, that such traumas are no more than occasions for it to gain pleasure. Instinct of love toward an object demands a mastery to obtain it, and if a person feels they can't control the object or feel threatened by it, they act negatively toward it. The individual does actually carry on a double existence, one designed to serve his own purposes, and another as a link in a chain, in which he serves against, or at any rate without, any volition of his own. One thing only do I know for certain, and that is that man's judgments of value follow directly his wishes for happiness, that, accordingly, they are an attempt to support his illusions with arguments. The time comes when each of us has to give up as illusions the expectations which, in his youth, he pinned upon his fellow men, and when he may learn how much difficulty and pain has been added to his life by their ill will. And it is only after seeing man as his unconscious, revealed by his dreams, presents him to us that we shall understand him fully. For as Freud said to Putnam, we are what we are because we have been what we have been. We have learned, for example, that the more virtuous a man is, the more severe is his superego, and that he blames himself for misfortunes, for which he is clearly not responsible. Life is impoverished, it loses interest, when the highest stake in the game of living, life itself, may not be risked. It becomes as shallow and empty as, let us say, an American flirtation. I may now add that civilization is a process in the service of Eros, whose purpose is to combine single human individuals, and after that families, then races, peoples and nations, into one great unity, the unity of mankind. Theoretical considerations require that what is today the object of a phobia must at one time in the past have been the source of a high degree of pleasure.